All right, so that
Yeah,
is something I have to
I
do.
grew up skiing in New Hampshire and Vermont because we just
Oh,
would
no
drive up.
way.
Yeah,
Did you ever
all the
snowboard
time.
or really
No,
ski?
I've been a skier since I was 3,
Wow.
and I just stick to it.
Yeah.
Like I'm too old to change now. My
I
husband
know
snowboards.
it's like
Like,
learning how to
okay,
walk and then like, oh, now you have to
yeah,
walk backwards. It's like, wait,
no,
what?
no, I'm okay. I'm a really good skier, and I'm really happy with that.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
My
we love it. We just started getting the kids into it now, so
that must be so fun. How old are your kids?
7 and 9.
7
So
and
we go to
9.
the mountains every year. We go to New Mexico now because we drive, we love road trips, and we drive out to like Ski Santa Fe and Taos,
Yeah,
and which is beautiful. And we go this last year, we're like, okay, ski school, go. And they
nice.
loved it.
They crushed it.
So yeah,
Wow.
we did. They have no fear. I love kids because they just are like, okay, let's do it.
Man, that's like
My
my
dad taught me when I was 3. I used to ski in between his legs. He'd hold my hands, and that's one of my
that's
first memories,
amazing.
like skiing in Colorado with my dad.
That
So,
is so cool. I want to do that with my son. I just started downhill mountain biking, and
oh,
I know, weird.
whoa. No, it's not weird. It's cool.
It's not a quite midlife crisis. I'm like, it's like a,
Yeah, you're.
I'm, yeah, I'm like 31. I'm like, I'm not as active as I want to be. I don't
No,
work
you're too
out.
young.
Yeah, I
I'm not
want,
even there yet. I'm 40,
right,
so no.
exactly. Like I noticed that like when I was a kid, I used to do all of these like crazy active things, and as I get
Yeah,
older, it's like I just go to the gym and ride my bike
yeah,
a little bit, but I don't do anything like, like I don't snowboard as much as I used to. I don't, do these things. So I did it for the first time a couple
no,
maybe
that's
like a month or
cool.
so ago. Yeah. And then I went gung ho. I bought a bike, and I want my son's almost 2. I want him to like. I got him a little
Yeah,
like a Walmart bike,
yeah,
and I was so excited to give him this bike. We went to Walmart, picked it out. He's like, that one. He can't even talk, but he's like, ah. And I'm like, yeah. So we got it, went back to the house. I'm like, what do you think? And he's just like, and goes and does something else. I
yeah. Oh,
haven't
yeah,
been able to
yeah.
get
They
him on the
don't
bike
ever have
yet.
the excitement that we have
I haven't
now.
been able to get him on the bike yet. So I'm thinking that, like, as long as it's there, maybe by,
Yeah,
like, I don't know, 2.5, he'll be like,
yeah. He's still little. He
yeah.
will.
Anyway. All right.
Yeah.
So quick
Okay.
title, and then we'll go live. How would you finish this sentence to, like, summarize your transformation? Obviously, we're going to go into it, but if you were to say like Laura has blank, I'll give you an example. Uh, I'll give you a bunch of examples actually. So like one we did was Kylie has figured out lifetime habit change and body transformation. It doesn't have to be that encapsulating though. It could be. Let me pull up a few others. Uh, I know I'm putting it on you.
Yeah, sorry,
You come
I'm
up with a
thinking.
title.
I'm thinking. I'm thinking.
That's so funny. Debbie has changed her body by changing little habits. Rebecca has energy she hasn't felt in years. Amber has stayed on a healthy course while still living life. Summer's new habits just feel like normal life. Uh, what would yours be?
Hold on. Let me think.
Take your time. No worries.
I'm trying to think how I can word it simply because
Yeah. Yeah,
I talk
give
too
me
much.
a long one. Feel free to just start talking, and then I'll bring it down to something.
Well, the long one, because I mean, essentially, and I was talking to Coach Sharon about this yesterday.
Yeah.
It's like what I still have a long way to go weight wise, but it's like more like everything I crave like nutritionally is my biggest thing. Working out has never been something I lack. It's
Yes.
something I think that's why I'm not larger
Yeah.
because I'm very consistent with that. But I don't know, like I crave things completely differently now. And
Mm.
I don't everything has changed with what I want to eat and what I want to. So I don't know, my cravings have completely changed and I feel like it's not I don't know, it's not I'm on a diet. It's like it's changed. I feel like I have a sense of permanence. I don't know
Ooh, I like
the
that.
right word, but if that's the right word, but that's what it
Okay.
feels like. This is not, yeah, it's not gonna change back because it's
Yes.
not like that. I'm not suffering. I'm not, oh, I wish I could have that. I wish I could have this. It's like, no, just what I want now.
Yeah, I like that. Laura has permanently changed her cravings around food. We'll start there, and
Okay.
we'll go deeper, and we can always change it. But excited to talk about that. Okay, so we got this. Should be
So wait, now is this actually live
no.
or it's gonna be live later,
Oh
right?
no
It's not
no,
actually.
it's gonna be live.
Oh shoot. Okay. Gotta do my
Yeah,
hair.
no cuts. There's no cuts.
Woo!
Put on your game case. I had about 300 milligrams of caffeine, so we're ready to go. No, I'm just
I'm
kidding.
all right, we have to top off my coffee.
Do you drink a lot of
No, it's
coffee?
okay. No, I just have my first one, I only cup. I only have
Oh,
one.
okay, okay, okay. All right,
And it's black coffee, but I'm like, no, I'm good.
all right. Let's do it. Here we go. Three, two, one, and we are live. What's going on out there, Facebook land? If you're here, let me know in the comments. Say hi. Today I am joined by the lovely Laura, and as you see from the title, Laura has permanently changed her cravings around food. We're gonna dive into that today and much, much more. Laura, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ryan. How are you?
I'm living the dream. It's so good. I'm actually in New Hampshire right now. We already talked about it with my parents, so hence the different setup and the hat. I did not bring any hair product, and you don't want to see what's under this without hair products. All right. So let's start off. Let's start off with maybe a little bit of just who you are, where you're from. Give us some backstory real quick.
Okay. I'm Laura, and I live in San Antonio, Texas, with my husband and two kids. I have been a nurse for going on 10 plus years. I started as a labor and delivery nurse, and now I actually do bone marrow transplant nursing because a lot of reasons, but I just made a change. But I'm also in graduate school to be a family nurse practitioner with about less than a year to go. But I've had two kids that are going to be running back around behind me.
Yep, yep.
And I've also been a runner for years, a cyclist for years. And so active has never been my issue. I've always been very active. There's my other kid, very active, they, but I've always had a yo-yoing weight, and some of it, of course, centered around having the little ones, but
Yeah,
which aren't so little anymore.
right.
But yeah, and so I live with we're here in San. My husband is former military, so we ended up retiring. He retired here. He's still civilian military, and we've been in San Antonio for just almost 10 years. And
Yeah,
yeah,
tell me how long have you been, or had you been yo-yoing prior to this?
probably most of my life.
Okay.
I grew up thin, skinny kid, and always thought though, oh, I had to be skinnier, that kind of thing. But I grew up in Connecticut. I was thinking, I'm like, I used to drive around in my car in a bathing suit, like and what was I? I would never do that now, but and just kind of, well, I'm too old anyway. But but yeah, it seems like it's been ongoing. And then after my son, when I knew we were done having kids, I was doing really well for a while, and I actually had gotten to my goal weight. Everything was going well, but
Wow.
I was doing it because I was training for a half marathon, which I run a lot. I mean, my knee's been messed up. I don't really do those as much anymore, but I was training for the rock and roll here in San Antonio
Yeah.
in 2019, and I was there. I was like, I'm on goal weight. I was like, okay, but I don't know if I was there the right way because then COVID hit and everything shut down. And so I kept running, but diet started slipping. And when I say diet, I don't like that word, but when
Right.
I like what I was eating, slipping, treats, we're home, everyone's home, no school.
Yep.
And I wasn't working at the time. And then I tore my meniscus in my knee with all my running. It's the first time I did that. I've done it twice now.
Oh wow.
And that then I packed on 20 pounds within less than a year. And it's gone up from there. So, and it's just like fighting it, and it's just trying these things and jumping on things like all sorts of I don't know if we can name names, but other
Name them.
programs
Name
out
them.
there.
Yeah. What didn't
Like
work?
Noom was the first one I tried, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this sounds amazing. And it was a computer. I could tell
Yeah.
everything that this real coach was doing to keep me accountable, which is what I
It's
need.
AI. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I could tell. I would tell them something really personal, and the response like, you're not a
Great.
person. Yeah,
Fantastic.
I'm like, what? You're
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
person.
Right. I really fell off the
And
wagon today. Happy to hear it.
yeah, so what are you going to do to change that? Well, you tell me. I don't know. That's why I'm
Right. You
coming
tell
to
me.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a massive waste of time and money. And then I don't know, trying to, and of course, I was telling actually Coach Sharon yesterday about a friend's, because I had a lot of friends that used to be really into Beachbody and whatever they call it now,
Yeah.
and which is so fitness driven versus nutrition driven.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not my problem.
Right.
And I know I'm an adult and I'm smart enough. I know if I break it down, I could figure out what to do and not do.
Of
But I
course.
literally feel like a child in this case because I need someone to like hold me accountable.
Yeah. To give you that
And
structure and yeah.
that's what I realized at some point. I'm like, none of this is working because I'm just slipping or, just reaching for what sounds good instead of thinking about what am I putting in my body.
Yeah.
And
Two questions based on what you
yeah,
said so far. First one, what was the highest weight that you had gotten to? You said you gained 10.
the
Not
highest
total,
weight I
not
got
total
to
weight.
is,
Or you can tell me
Mhm.
total weight, whatever you're comfortable with.
I don't care. I'll tell you.
Okay, tell
Uh,
me.
I'm like, it's not a shame. It's all public. You could look it up. But besides, when I was pregnant with my son, the highest, as pregnancy, the highest I got was like 209. I'm 5'5". My goal weight's always around 150. That's just where I'm happy because I have a lot of muscle. I do a lot of lifting and I like to that. That's where I was. Now as a teenager, I was in high school and stuff. I was 132 almost religiously, 132, 132. But that's before I was working out all the time
Yeah.
and running and lifting and stuff. But so I'd lost some of that baby weight. And then as I did go on some anxiety meds with grad school last summer, and I was like, oh, I'm gaining weight because of that. Well, you're
Right.
gaining weight because anxiety meds make you hungry because they keep your serotonin levels. So I'm like, I'm a clinical person. I know that. It's not because I can't just say, oh, it's the medicine. No, I was eating more. So the highest weight I got to was when I was actually right before I started the program. I had gone down a little bit, but I think it was 196. And I'm like, that's pregnancy weight.
Yeah.
I'm not pregnant.
Right.
And I already knew I was pushing out all my clothes, like I wasn't fitting in anything. And when I actually weighed in when I started the program, I was 191.
Mm.
And I was like, and I'm sick. I was sick about it, but it's just where it was.
Yeah, I get that. I'm curious. So we titled this "You've Changed Your Cravings for Good," which that's an odd title, right? Because it's like for good. How do you really know if it's permanent? But I'd love to hear what what your relationship has been with food prior to doing this craving wise, and then maybe where it is now. What and
Yeah.
just how it's changed.
Sure. A lot of it is comfort and stress eating. And, it's been a hard few years. Like 2.5 years ago, my dad passed away and it was pretty fast and furious. He was, which is why I'm in oncology now. He died of cancer quickly. And I just decided I wanted to give back. And I changed when I was started grad school. I was like, I want to do something different while I can.
Yeah.
But it was a lot. And with COVID, and my daughter was home and she was starting kindergarten. And, I would give into, and I did this most of my life on off and on. I would eat for comfort and not even know I was doing it. Not even if I was sad. Sometimes I was very great mood and I was like, oh,
Right, because I'm happy. Yeah,
I'm gonna get some
it's kind of like
pizza.
do it when you're sad, do it when you're
And
happy.
yeah, I'm like, oh, and I was actually on a road trip this week because I had to drive to Lubbock for school. And normally when I drive to in a road trip, because I did a lot of like we do that a lot, I was grabbing something very sugary, candy, whatever, something that, all that kind of stuff. When I'm home, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have some toast. Maybe I'll have some more toast. Maybe I'll have a little more toast. I loved bread. I loved it.
Yeah,
And it doesn't mean I don't love it anymore, but I don't want it anymore. And I made that
interesting.
choice. Yeah. One thing I noticed that's probably my biggest thing. I didn't, nobody told me, Coach Sharon didn't say, stop eating carbs, stop eating this. No, she didn't tell me stop eating anything. She said, start eating, start focusing on the higher proteins and the better fats and, balance out my macros, and which I never understood what that meant
Sure.
until she broke it down. And I just decided, well, I don't need to have bread right now. Like just in general. I've
Yeah.
had like half a hamburger bun on a hamburger, but
Yeah.
So as these months have gone by, because I started in March, I don't even think about it anymore. And it's
Wow.
not a hard decision anymore. And for me now, it's not like I feel like I'm missing it, which is what I always used to feel like, is what I mean when I
Nice.
say permanence. That's how I know. Because on this last road trip, I had a bag of like dried cranberries, sunflower seed cashews,
Yeah.
and in a bag, and that's what I was snacking on.
Wow.
And that was it. And if I needed to grab, because I was in the car for 5 hours, so it was a long
Yeah.
drive. But it wasn't like I don't know. And that's what I was telling her yesterday, Coach Sharon. I don't miss it. I
Yeah.
don't crave it. In fact, I'm craving things I never used to crave.
It's
Like salads is a great example. I
right.
hated salads. I would eat them because you're supposed to, and they're good,
Yeah,
and you get.
yeah.
And my husband's like, you can make them taste good. I'm like, I know, but I don't want them
But I don't want
now.
them. Yeah.
But now it's over these last like 2 months, especially. I'm like, that's all I want. And I
Yeah.
put my grilled chicken on it. I find different dressings and stuff, but like nothing about that makes you go, oh, another salad. I'm
Right.
happy. And it's
It's
just a shift. And I
yeah.
don't,
If I were to say to you, or Coach Sharon was to say to you, because what month are you in now?
um, I don't know. Four.
Four, I think. Yeah, four.
Yeah,
So
I think four.
if 4 months ago she was like, all right, by week, whatever it is, 15, 14, you're gonna look forward to eating salad. You probably would have told her she's crazy.
I've been like, whatever. Yeah.
Right,
Or yeah. And the
right.
protein, and she's giving me all these great ideas with like, putting protein in yogurt. And I can't I have an allergy to dairy, so I can't have
Yeah,
dairy, but like I have the what do you call it? The coconut
yeah.
based, yogurts. So they don't have a lot of protein in them. But then I throw protein powder in them and some fruit, and I feel like I'm cheating. It's so
Right.
good.
Yeah.
And it's delicious. And it's like my favorite like snack now.
Yes.
And I substitute quinoa for rice, which I actually thankfully loved quinoa to begin with. But now, like, and we're making anything I'm serving when I'm cooking for the family over rice, I just don't eat it. I eat quinoa and I'm happy. And it's great.
There's something so interesting, and of course, there's still a lot of research and data being brought to light on this topic, but the microbiome, right? It's like we have trillions, if I'm not mistaken, of these living, or I don't know if they're living, but cells and
Yeah.
enzymes in our gut. And supposedly, the food that we eat dictates that, right? If
Hmm.
we eat a ton of chicken, there are certain enzymes that break down chicken or break down salad or break down,
Right.
and I'm being like, very general, break down
Yeah.
sugar, whatever, whatever. So it's like the more we do eat healthy things, as long as we can get over a little bit of the hump, the
Hmm.
more those our microbiome can actually change, the enzymes can change. And well, how does that lead into our cravings? Supposedly, I'm no scientist, but supposedly, right through the vagus nerve, our brain and our gut talks, and your gut supposedly can talk to your brain and say, "This is what we need more of. Go eat it."
Yeah.
Imagine that. That's crazy to think about because a lot of
It
people want
makes
to think
sense though.
about like themselves as, well, I'm in control. I feel what I feel. But the fact of the matter is, we have a symbiotic relationship with our microbiome. That's not
Hmm.
us, is it? It's
Yeah.
inside you. But is
Yeah.
it you? Is your brain you? Where does it start and end?
Right.
It's such a
Yeah.
weird thing to think about. But yes, I think you're not alone. Once we do shift and get past almost like a little bit of this hump, it does get easier. And the
Yeah.
key to getting past that hump is what everyone will hear me talk about until the end of time. The thing we always need to optimize for is not stopping. Because the
Yes.
longer the journey goes on, the easier it gets. Whether it's because of something physiological that's actually happening in your body or because of something mental where you're gaining more evidence for the person you're becoming and it's more psychological. But it's very
Yes.
interesting. So you're four
Yeah.
months in, you feel like these changes are relatively permanent at this point.
No, I do.
That's
I
weird to think
do.
about. In only four
It's crazy
months, these
because
things can shift so much.
it's crazy to me. And I've never in all the years of trying to lose weight had this happen.
Whoa,
And
so this is
that's
the
where
first time.
first time
That's
where
very exciting.
yes, it's huge. And it just goes back to that first meeting I had, I think with Kevin, when
Yeah.
we talked about when I was signing up or whatever,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he was talking to me about the success rate of the long standing, and
yeah. And you're like,
that spoke to
bullshit.
me. But then I was like, how do you know? And I was like,
Yeah,
he's like,
right.
yeah. I'm like,
I know.
how? And I was like, okay, fine, I'll call you on it. I'll sign up, whatever.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
how do you know?
I know.
But now it, yeah, I don't know. I'm like,
You're like, oh, I guess he was
yeah,
right.
I'm,
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
it's
it's
real.
so interesting. As long as somebody does the requirements that we require, our success rate's over 90% still to
Yeah.
this point, even with hundreds of RNs. And I think it really, again, just comes back to if we can optimize and personalize a plan for where somebody doesn't stop, the more time, it's like a what would that chart be called? Not a parabola. Ugh. I wish I had it. I wish I had it. I would sound way smarter than I'm sounding right now.
Oh, I don't know.
But essentially, the longer that goes on, the easier it gets. Where usually, with a lot of people, it's the opposite, where
Right.
they create a plan that's depriving. So the opposite of what you did, right? They feel super deprived. They're killing themselves doing it. Where it's easy in the beginning because they have all this hype, but then all that hype fades, and sometimes, which this is sometimes the most painful, is the hype doesn't fade until they're at their goal.
Right.
So they think I got it, but then they can't sustain it because now all they're left with is no pleasure, all pain, and then they go back. And that's
Right.
sometimes that's sometimes even worse than just like not being able to lose weight at all.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
I've been there. I've done that. Yeah.
yeah. It's
And
crazy.
yeah, it is crazy. And that's what, and again, like I was telling you and I was telling Sharon yesterday, I was like, it just shocks me daily that that's what I want to eat, what I reach for, what I want to do now versus what I used to.
Yes.
And then it's yeah, it shocks me daily. And it's not, but again, it's not, I'm not feeling a loss at all as far as like what am I missing? I'm not craving anything I'm not eating.
Yes.
It's just they've changed. It was hard in the beginning, it was, and I
Right. You got to
struggled
go over the hump.
and
Yep.
the weight took and it's still and the weight is still moving at a slower pace than I would like, but that's okay. It's
Right.
going in the right direction and I'm noticing huge changes in the pictures and the way my clothes are fitting. So I know things are changing.
Yes.
So just because the pounds aren't, I mean, it's 12 pounds and 12 pounds is huge. I call them decades, which is dumb. I know I'm a science person, but like
I love
the
it.
90s to the 80s, I'm in the 70s. And it's like, yes, I want to get to the 50s and I will.
Yes.
But and maybe, but at the same time, that's not discouraging me. It's more like, this isn't, because what is going to happen if I changed back? Nothing,
Right.
nothing but bad things. It's just going to go back. And,
Yes.
but I don't, like I said, I don't even miss anything to change back.
Yes.
If that
And I
makes sense.
think that's the key. And again, this is like the psychology of weight loss that I will like slam into the ground. I will be on my soapbox until I die, just talking about how it sounds so funny, but really usually what's missing for a lot of people is the shifts in beliefs that do happen from different actions, but it's a shifts of belief that allow you to get to your goal and sustain it forever. It sounds funny, but I can't think of anyone that doesn't fit this ideal. Every single person I've ever worked with that has gotten to their final goal that they set in the beginning usually get to it and don't even realize they're there
Yeah.
until weeks or usually months later because they're not hyper fixated on that target anymore. They're just
Right.
living their life. And
Yeah.
then, so the scale has no power over them. And then they
Mhm.
just so happen to go to a doctor's appointment and they go, "What'd you say?" They're like, "Oh, 148." And you're like, "Shut the
No.
fuck. Yeah, get out of here."
Yeah.
And you're like,
yeah.
I haven't, like, that was the goal, but
Mhm.
you weren't focused on that.
Right.
So that there wasn't any negative feedback loops. Because on a
Mhm.
very general level, usually what happens, and maybe tell me if you've experienced this, where it's like, okay, I'm doing everything I should be doing. We hop on the scale. What the fuck?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, God. And then just time after time of that, eventually get to the point where you throw your hands up and you're like, screw this.
Right.
We
Yeah.
want control back,
Yeah.
we feel like we don't have control there. Whereas if you feel like you have control of your life and you're living your life and that's happening kind of in the background,
Yeah.
it's like you win.
Yeah.
And that's so weird to think about because usually we're taught you need to focus on this thing, right? Where focus
Mhm.
goes, energy flows, results soon follow. And it's true, but instead of focusing on the result, let's focus on the actions because the actions are going to be what gets the result anyway.
Right. Yeah.
It's weird, but once we could wrap our head around this concept, everything changes. And this is
Yeah.
how I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, it'll
Mhm.
just be like, you're just doing what you're doing now.
Yeah.
And whether
Yeah.
it takes an extra, as you said, like weight loss, the scale isn't moving the way I want immediately, but I'm feeling the energy. My clothes are fitting better. The results are
Mhm.
happening.
Mhm.
And some of the craziest thing that happens in the beginning too is lean body mass goes up as fat mass goes down, right?
Mhm.
We're building muscle. A lot of the
Right.
times when people start, they're dehydrated. So it's like
Yeah.
we're rehydrating and the scale
Oh, yeah.
goes up. And it's like, wait, how's the scale going up? My clothes fitting better. right?
Yeah.
It's because of that shift.
Hmm.
So I have no doubts in my mind that we're going to be, if if you want to, by 2029 we'll do another interview and it'll be
Yeah,
like,
why
oh
not?
yeah, it's I hit that
Exactly.
goal 2 years ago, and but when we zoom out, like again, this is one of the big principles, and I know you already know this stuff, but I'm chatting for everyone as well. One of the biggest beliefs that can help shape this for us is this idea of zooming out and focusing on decades in the literal
Hmm.
sense, right? Tens of years
Yeah.
instead of weeks or days in
Yes.
themselves. Because when we zoom out, how long do you plan on staying healthy for? How many years
The
once you're
rest of
at
my
your
life.
goal? Yeah.
The rest of my life.
What do you think conservatively? Another 40, 50, 60
At
years, right?
least. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like, all right, if we're zooming out, who cares if you hit this goal when you're 36 or 36 and a half or 39 or
All
39
right.
and a half? When you're 90 looking back, it's like it's not even a half
Yeah.
inch on a timeline. And if it meant that you could do it and never go back, isn't that what this whole thing's about? Right?
Exactly.
Like that's how we master the game. And
Hmm.
sorry, this is supposed to be an interview, and now I just
No,
go
no, this
off.
is good stuff. It's good stuff. It's important.
I'm just very passionate about this concept, right? There's so many people suffering and struggling with this thing, and they don't know how to fix it. And it's like it's not as crazy as like it is so possible. Like
Yes.
before this, did you believe? Like, was there? I know you even said like you were talking to, your onboarding coach, and you
Yeah.
were like, yeah, whatever. Like there was probably a
He's
good
like,
amount of doubt still in you at that point.
it was almost like, okay, fine, prove
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Sign me up
exactly. Prove it. That's
to prove
funny.
it.
That's amazing.
But
That's
no,
good.
I never thought it was going to be like this. No.
Yeah. What do you feel like too? Because obviously obviously your body's changing. What do you feel like for you has been the biggest benefit? Yeah, let's go biggest benefit, and then I'm also curious like the most surprising benefit, one that you didn't even anticipate from this change so far. What's been the biggest one? What would you say? We'll start there.
Well, I would say my gut health, honestly, because I've been dealing with some like off and on. I figured I was getting some kind of stomach ulcer and stuff like
Oh,
that. I was
okay.
like, my stomach was just hurting. And I have, this is not really that important, but I have some pancreas issues. They've been going on for years and years, and they're under control. Um, but it is harder for me to digest food. So I have to be real careful about my diet. I don't have a gallbladder. I lost, like, that was taken a long time ago. So,
Okay.
like, I just have to be careful. I've never been a big fried food person because it's very hard for me to digest. And then, of course, I have the dairy thing. But that being said, as I've started focusing on like the healthy proteins and the healthy fats and really balancing that, my stomach aches have pretty much gone away.
Wow.
So I was
Wow.
all set to go to GI and figure out what's going on with my stomach and I talked to Coach Sharon about this a while ago, and I've talked to my husband. I'm like, do you notice I'm not getting these stomach aches I used to get?
Wow.
Was I eating like that crappy?
Huh.
Apparently, even though I thought, I'm like, you don't eat fried food, you don't, but sometimes it's not about what you're eating, is that how much you're eating.
Can be.
And I think I also, especially, I mean, I've logged food before, and you can ask Coach Sharon. I'm terrible about logging it now, but I'm balancing it, and I know I'm doing it.
That's good.
But I
That's
still
more
get it done.
important than logging.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she knows. We talk it through.
Yeah.
But all of that, it seems like, so that's been one of the like, that's kind of a combination. It's been both surprising and amazing
Wow.
because, and then like, I think, like I said, the number one thing that has surprised me the most is how I don't sit and think about sugar or
Mm.
just the things, because my dad was diabetic and it runs in his family, type 2. And I, with my weight, have also been very conscientious of that. I don't want to get that. And being a nurse, I see it all the time in the hospital. And I'm like, I don't want to be a diabetic. And I'm predisposed. It's family history. And so I'm like, nope, nope. So I've always thought about that. And I wondered if that's why I do have such strong, or had, honestly, strong sugar, salt cravings, things like that. I just, I don't know. That's been my the biggest surprise is how much my cravings in general have shifted. And
Wow.
like I said, it's not like I made them do this. They just happened. And now I don't miss those things. I don't wish I could go grab a bag of whatever. And to me, it would make me sick. In fact, Real quick, I was in I had to go do some pediatric clinicals at out of town, at a small town, and their HEB is their grocery store is terrible. So I got in a curbside and brought it in because I had a little Airbnb, but I ran out of my dairy-free yogurt, and I was like, "Dang it! What is this tiny town HEB gonna have?" It's in Uvalde. I'm sure a lot of people know Uvalde. It was on the news, but I go to the HEB and they have one dairy-free yogurt and it had a lot more calories. I'm like, why? So then I looked, tons of sugar, tons of sugar. I'm like, well, it's all I have and I'm gonna try it.
Right.
I got super sick the
Oh
next day,
no.
like all that pain that I didn't have.
Came
And I
back.
realized that
Wow.
like the only thing I changed is I introduced a whole lot of sugar that I haven't been eating. And I'm fine. I got through it. But to me, it was actually a good thing because
Yeah.
it showed me my body was like, you don't process this, you don't eat this much sugar anymore.
Right.
And so it kind of freaked out. I mean, it got through it. It was
Yeah.
I was better the next day, but I was like, what is this pain? And yeah, it was, I think, because I added in that.
Yeah, that is so interesting. When you get over this metaphorical hump, just like how we think about introducing positive feedback loops in more way than one, eliminating negative feedback loops that hurt us, but there's actually negative feedback loops that can serve us. For example, when you reintroduce something else, this is actually why, as crazy as it sounds, one of the reasons that gastric bypass has a success rate. I don't recommend it to anyone, by the way, but it has a success rate is because it has a built-in negative feedback loop that's so strong. For example, uh, I don't think there's any, I could be wrong, but I don't think there's any recorded cases of people that have gotten, that can't be true, but I'm sure it's a very small amount of people that have gotten gastric bypass that, or a sleeve that has not overindulged and pushed it. But what happens when you push it? You are introduced by immediate pain. Why? Gastric emptying,
Yeah.
vomiting, whatever it is. So essentially,
Yeah.
there's a built in switch that goes,
Hmm.
you're about to freaking experience pain. And then that
Yeah.
just links up in your brain, I can't do this anymore. And that pain that you know you'd experience leads you to eating less. And now you're able to do this, which is crazy that as humans, we need almost like these negative like feedback loops uh, that will, I don't want to say keep us on track, but like human
Yeah.
nature is always going to be going away from pain and towards pleasure. So if you
Hmm.
can leverage that, you win. Like humans are humans, and we can either get upset that humans are the way that they are and we are, or we can accept it and walk in the line and
Yeah.
act accordingly. And this is how
Hmm.
you win. You know.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my ramble.
No,
Cool.
it's true though. It's true. And I now know when I go back, I have to go back and do another 3 days out there. I'm going to take an extra yogurt. So I
Yes.
won't have to go buy. I'll
Great
never
idea.
eat it. It didn't even taste that good anyway. I was adding the protein powder and all that, but I was like, this doesn't even taste that good.
Yeah.
And then I was feeling fine until, like I said, the next day as I ate a little bit at lunch and drove home, and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. And it was a
Yeah.
shorter drive, but still, when I got home, I told my husband, I'm like, it's that yogurt.
Yeah.
I ate a whole lot of sugar and my haven't eaten like that. Yeah.
Two questions to finish this
Yes.
out because we're 30 minutes
Okay.
in. I've already taken so much of
Oh,
your time.
okay. Okay. No, it's
First
okay.
one is, what would you
Yes.
tell yourself 4 months ago when maybe you were looking into this, like, or that you were on the call with Kevin, or I don't even know if we have a coach Kevin. It might be Connor, but it's
I
fine.
don't know who it was.
It's
I don't
fine.
remember
Yeah,
his
it's
name.
fine.
It sounded sort
But
of like
you
that. I
got
don't
the
remember.
you
He was
got the
great,
crowd
but I don't
right, so
remember.
that's good.
Yeah, maybe with him. I don't remember.
Who knows? They're all just good-looking young guys, so who knows? They're all just Ken dolls. Just kidding. Um, but what was I gonna say? Yeah, what would you tell yourself before starting? What that we'll start there. Like, what would you tell yourself?
I mean, it's going to be hard in the beginning, but it's going to be worth it.
Nice.
Don't give up. Don't give up. And I never thought about it, but it was hard in the beginning. It was.
Yeah.
It was really hard. But the accountability, seeing the coach every day or every week has been great. So,
Beautiful. I'm
yeah.
thrilled. And then, what would you tell somebody else that maybe is watching this video, made it this far, and essentially is starting maybe from a very similar place as you, that has done the yo-yo for what had been many, many years, kind of unsure if it could actually work for them. What would you impart for wisdom? to maybe help them?
Okay. Well, I would say that do not look at this as a diet. This isn't a diet. This is a lifestyle change. And if you have and even Coach Sharon and I talked about this yesterday, it's like I was in the right mindset and ready to make a change. It wasn't easy, but if you want to change your life, not go on a diet and lose weight, if you just have a weight loss goal and that's it, this is not for you. This is about getting healthy and changing your life. And yes, you'll get to that goal, but you'll also be, I think, a happier and healthier person overall. So that's what this is for. And I 100% believe in it and advocate for it. And I'm so, so grateful I did this and doing this.
Awesome. Oh, that's great. Such good advice. Thanks for being here. You're
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you.
I'm
Thank
excited to
you.
do our 1 year review. We'll see where
Me
you're
too.
at, and it'll
Yeah.
be, I'm sure, one of those conversations that's like, yeah, I don't know, everything's the same, but my
Yeah.
body's different, and it's gonna be
But
like, yeah, like
I weigh
nothing's
150
changed action
pounds.
wise, but like,
Yeah.
look, everything else is kind of happening in the background, which is, ideally
Mhm.
where we want to be. So I'm thrilled for you. Thanks so much for taking the
Thank
time
you.
for this. You're awesome.
Thank you.
And if you guys
Thanks.
are
You too.
watching this on live or recording, feel free to like this so more people see it. You can comment below. I'm sure Laura will see your
Yeah,
comments and be able to answer any questions you have
of course.
too, as will I and the other coaches. And the best is yet to come, guys. You can do it. Oh, look at this.
What? Oh yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
My son just showed me that recently. My
Yeah,
7-year-old.
it's so cool. All right, we'll see you guys later. Bye. Oh,
Bye.
also, I should say, if you want to, if you're interested in working with, shameless plug, any of our coaches, Coach Sharon, she's amazing, or anyone, feel free to schedule a one-on-one arm body breakthrough session so you can see if coaching could be a good fit for you. Bye.